Hello, everyone. The reason there was no episode, no video last week is because I was sick, and I still am, but I'm better. I'm getting better. So I didn't get to finish editing the video. I was too ill, and I just thought I'll just leave it. There'll be one void episode of This Week in Shonen Jump. Just, it won't be there. So I'm sorry. Hopefully it doesn't happen again, but that's that. I thought last week was good overall. Everything really did a good job. Can't really remember anything super specific, but I remember I enjoyed all the chapters, as I almost always do. So, with that said, here's hoping this week goes a lot better than last week. And with that, here's the spoiler warning, and we're starting off with Black Clover, chapter 299. This was a good chapter, showing just how strong Magakula is, and the resolve of Gaja. So, the chapter starts with Magakula still having complete control over the situation, taunting Noelle as Noelle can't do anything, but everyone gets a little stunned, or at least pays attention to Gaja, who shoots up a lightning bolt into the air. This resolves Noelle as Gaja gives a look, showing what he's willing to do now. As he then temporarily stuns Lollapalooza, we then get another flashback of Gaja's commitment to her, and seeing how he got his scar on his face, which was during Vanika's initial attack, which caused Lollapalooza to get her curse. He then apologized, and it shows Lollapalooza always worrying about the people of the Heart Kingdom first, showing just how good of a queen she was. Gaja, however, didn't seem to really care, and always just wanted to protect her. With Demon Lollapalooza now stunned, he rushes away from her, and vows to make her not a murderer, and decides to give everything he has into one last attack to try to kill Magakula. He goes in for an ultimate lightning attack. He simply makes a giant beam of what I'm assuming is electrical energy, lightning energy, and blasts it right at Magakula. And it seemingly evaporates her as it bursts straight through, as her magic wasn't able to stop the beam. Noelle jumps into action, using what little magic she has left to try to get some Saint Stage power to finally stab through Magakula's heart, only to find Gaja, Burton, charred up, standing in front of the silhouette of what looks to be a much stronger Magakula. It looks like, from what I can gather, Vanika might have died from that attack. Now, Magakula entered stage 2, I guess, where now she's even stronger, so that attack ended up not working to kill her. But Gaja doesn't look like he survived the attack. So that's the chapter. I thought it was very good. Overall, I'd give that chapter a B. It was another short chapter, but a fun chapter nonetheless. It showed Gaja's resolve and more of his character, showing how staunch he was in protecting Lollapalooza and the love he had for her, whether it was because he did love her or he simply believed in her. He was willing to do anything to protect her and didn't want her to become a murderer by killing him, whether by her own hand truly or through the influence of Magakula. It didn't matter. He wasn't going to let that weigh on her. So he did what he needed to do, which was strike a devastating blow to the villains. But in the end, the villains are too powerful. Now that again leaves me to wonder if Magakula is still just getting stronger, or maybe even the tree opened up a bit more and that let her get even stronger. We'll end up finding out either way, but the situation is looking all the more dire. Now we're on to Undead Unluck, chapter 71. And this was a good chapter as it continued the Fuko is away from the Union arc, though I will say I enjoyed it quite a bit simply because it was just Fuko. Also, I do find it funny that I think I was right, because back 2 chapters ago, when Andy's clothes were ripping off, it's because Clothy was with Fuko, not because he had it still. That's why the clothes disintegrated instead of just being a part of him. So, that was fun. I thought that was actually a really interesting kind of slight callback that I did notice, which I don't usually notice those things, so I'm a little proud of myself on that one. Probably something everyone noticed, but still. So the chapter starts with Fuko reading her manga, You Me. She's reading it and Latala brings her more. Apparently they were all rips, which made Fuko pause for a second, but Latala then shows Fuko some concern on how Fuko is going to accomplish her task of killing Spring. Fuko, however, does not seem worried, saying that she'll manage, and Latala again continues to scold her, telling her that she's going to need something big to take down Spring, and the only way she can get big strokes of unluck is if she loves something. So Latala then asks, basically, how are you going to fall in love with Spring right away? Fuko then thinks it over, but then believes that she just needs to find a way to evolve her ability, just like Andy did. It then cuts to a pseudo quote-unquote flashback to show that Andy can now again put her unluck ability into his blood, which doesn't quite make sense, but it works enough. So she wants to evolve her ability and learn how to do that. So she believes she'll figure out a way to love Spring so that a huge stroke of unluck will be delivered to him. Latala is confused, but at least still shows concern for her and even asks if it's even possible to fall in love with Anuma. Fuko then explains that she loves Clothy, and Latala then asks who Clothy is, which is seemingly ignored. She wants the books to find out what love is again to try to figure out how to get it, if that makes sense. Fuko then asks Latala what she thinks it is to love. Latala gets stunned by this, as then Fuko continues, saying that Latala is more beautiful than Fuko, and that Fuko bets that Latala has had a lot of experience in that area, and that her and Rip must be a good couple. And Latala then cuts her off, saying that Rip and her are not a couple, they're just partners. More than friends, less than lovers. And that's about it. So there's more going on with Latala, as then she again continues to show that they have their own type of relationship, whether she wants to or he wants to grow more, they just won't. They have a very specific partnership. Rip then shows up, telling Latala that they're starting to move. He then tells Fuko to stay in the room and to behave. He notices that Latala seems troubled, but Latala says that she's fine. They then start bickering, Latala and Rip, and then Fuko thanks them for protecting her, and that if she can get some way to send a message or something, or get something, but Rip cuts her off, revealing, knowing that she wants to tell Andy something, and she's caught. Rip then takes out a lighter, saying that it's no good to give away the location because they're about to start moving when a giant whale comes in and eats the building they're in. They're then in darkness, and we see that the whale moves their building from place to place. That's why they're never able to find where they are. Rip then explains the date of the raid for Spring, which is December 24th. And she has until then to evolve her unluck, so to speak. We then see her reading more of her manga, trying to figure out what she needs to do in her time in Under, which is to uncover Billy's true intentions, find a way to communicate to the Union, and tell them the location of the hideout and the date of the raid. That's one. And then to evolve her unluck. She then is reading the manga, figuring out that all the things she's ever dreamed of having happened to her have happened thanks to Andy. She then comes to realize she is in love with Andy, but she can't just rely on him forever. And she then wonders what Andy would say, and we find out that Clothy is with her. It then shows that Clothy is now in the form of a wristwatch that Andy wears every so often, and we see him fully appear, or at least just his face on the wristwatch. He then explains that Undead works in Uma to the bone, and she asks why he's there. Clothy then says that he has no clue, but Andy gave Clothy to Fuko to protect her in order for them to continue to be partners, Andy and Clothy. Fuko then thanks him. He then remembers what Fuko said earlier about loving Clothy, so he's more or less loyal to her. She then resolves herself and decides to get ready, and it shows that it's about to begin. Her attempts to get away to communicate with Andy and co to tell them the date of the raid, as we see the orca whale Uma they're in make its way towards whatever its destination is. So that was the chapter. Again, it was a good chapter. Nothing super special. overall, I'd give that chapter a B. I thought, again, it was good. It did its job propelling the story forward, and it did give me what I wanted to see, which was just Fuko away from everyone else, though I don't think we'll spend as much time as I thought initially. For example, I think it's just gonna kind of cut a little bit. Maybe we get to see a full arc of her trying to get some communication out, her trying to evolve her unluck. Maybe if we're lucky, we'll get some character development from some of the other under members and learn and she grow together with them, grow a connection with like Latala, Rip, and Ko, some of them, whatever, as she herself grows stronger. So it should be very fun, and hopefully it's the beginning of a long arc. I wouldn't be surprised if it kind of just cut ahead though. Like it's only like 5 chapters and then next thing you know we're at the raid of spring and we didn't really see any of the work that she put in. We know she did it, and then we'll get all sorts of surprises left, right, and center, maybe, but who knows. But I like where it's going. So hopefully we get to stay with just Fuko for a little while. Now we're on to Mashle, Magic and Muscles, chapter 70. And this was a good chapter, as we more or less get the conclusion of the Innocent Zero versus Wahlberg battle from last week, from what I remember. Wahlberg seemingly did defeat the Necromancer, and we're now seeing the continuation of that battle. So it starts where it left off last week, which is that Wahlberg was able to summon the spirit of his wand, the god of his wand. They explain it that a third's spell is the magic that unleashes the god's power dwelling within the wand, and Innocent Zero is surprised his power hasn't declined with age. Wahlberg then decides that he has to try to wipe out Innocent Zero and plans on using some ultimate attack which will wipe out everything within the area. He's hoping this will end up destroying Innocent Zero full stop and ending him. Innocent Zero uses his time stop ability and stops Wahlberg, attacks him, then restarts time. Wahlberg is then fatally wounded, and Innocent Zero thinks it's over, only to find that the attack is still continuing. Wahlberg says that he had believed this would be it. This will be his final attack, just to make sure that Innocent Zero dies. If there is enough magic power poured into the spell, he'll be able to unleash the spell, even if he dies from it. So he planned this to be his final act, to make sure that the world is saved. He remembers all of his students and his backstory, believing that he must save those who are weak and fragile, just like he was once a long time ago, and he wants to save them just like his master did to him. We then see the breath of his spell, which erases a huge mountain from what I can gather and a chunk of area all around it, destroying everything, only for us to see that Innocent Zero, in his infinite magical ability, had reversed time and brought everything back to as if Wahlberg never casted the spell, leaving Wahlberg completely stunned and left vulnerable once again to a massive attack, and Wahlberg has lost to Innocent Zero. Innocent Zero tells him that Wahlberg won't be able to defeat him, and that's because Innocent Zero only lives for himself. Wahlberg is completely crushed by this and hopes that the world he envisions isn't so small and fragile that it can be stopped by one small-minded, selfish person, but he can't stop Innocent Zero himself. So it looks like Wahlberg is about to be killed, only to have Mash intervene, kneeing Innocent Zero right in the face. With Mash arriving, I don't know what to expect anymore. It is an interesting way to end that. It saves Wahlberg for now, and Wahlberg lost. He lost the battle. Mash is only saving his life, not helping him win. At least I don't think he'll help him win. Maybe Wahlberg will be able to use some of his magic to help Mash. But that was the chapter. Overall, I'd give that chapter a B. I thought it was a fun chapter with the battle coming to a conclusion. The winner of it didn't really matter. I thought it was good nonetheless. The fact that we actually did get a genuine winner, and we got to see the insane powers of basically the two strongest beings in this universe, though it looks like nothing can stop Mash ever. I do think Innocent Zero will probably give him his biggest run for his money, simply because of his time-stopping ability and ability to attack Mash even in that state. I don't know what this means, if now Mash will fight Innocent Zero or if Innocent Zero will simply leave now. I'm not sure. Or if Mash will be captured and taken with Innocent Zero, leading to a Mash is separated from everyone else arc, which leads to them trying to rescue him. I can only imagine how that would go in the long run. But again, Wahlberg lost, and so we'll get to see the ramifications of that sooner rather than later. Now we're on to Sakamoto Days, chapter 31, and this was a good chapter. It was actually a really great chapter as we get to see the quote-unquote final boss of this manga potentially arrive on the scene for the first time, and he's leaving a good impression on me with how he's writing him already. I look forward to seeing how this could potentially go. So the chapter starts with us seeing Lo saving a bunch of scientists and the other people as she breaks some of the debris as the lab is collapsing. Everyone's surprised and doesn't know what's going on. Lo is about to be hit by a giant piece of debris when Shin comes in to make the save. Though when they stand up to start making their escape again, Lo and him are still a bit awkward as they're still fighting, at least for that moment, though Hayazaki more or less breaks it up a little bit. Shin suggests they hurry to the exit when Lo apologizes, sobbing and crying all on him, saying that she never should have taken his apron and that she's sorry for what she said and everything. Shin then explains that he let it go and apologizes for what he had said to her. Hayazaki and Piyasaki are relieved that they're all on good terms again. Shin and the lab director see each other, and that's awkward for a moment. Lo then asks the director if he's going to apologize, which he then remembers but doesn't know where to start. When Shin gets a call from Sakamoto, and Sakamoto tells them that the building's going to collapse in 15 minutes, and if Shin finds Lo to get out of there. Shin then blurts that out, but Hayazaki asks if there are still people around. Shin then asks the director for a blueprint of the lab. The director brings it out and shows the layout there. Shin then uses his ability to search out for some people who are still underground. He splits them into teams to go look for the remaining people within the building, within the lab, and he takes the director to go to a lower floor where there are more people. The director says that Shen has learned how to use his powers more effectively, and Shen says that his research was surprisingly useful. The director is then happy to see Shin has grown up quite a bit, and they keep moving. We then see the two super assassins checking something on the lab, most likely security footage, and we see that they found their target, X, aka Slur. I don't know what that means, but we get to see who that villain is. They're then happy that they have his trail, and we see that the two of them are ready to make their way towards him. We then see Shen and the director making their way towards the two voices that Shen hears. Shen then says one of them is right in front of them, and we see a person sitting down on what seems to be some rubble, only for Shen to absolutely stop. And the best part about this is that whether purposefully done or done by complete accident, Suzuki the mangaka has decided to draw the main villain in a completely different art style. Like, it's not penned and it just looks really sketchy, but it looks amazing. And it just makes him look all the more intimidating, as then Shen seemingly gets like a thought process that he and the director gets instantly murdered, but it doesn't happen, as he's completely stunned and can't move, and is paused by that guy's bloodlust, and the guy walks past him and says that Shen is Shen and tells him to give Sakamoto his best. The guy then disappears when Shin turns around. The director then says they have to hurry, and they all make it outside. We then see that Sakamoto is already waiting for them, and then everyone starts to thank Shin for saving them and for helping them. They even start thinking thank yous to him and the whole thing. He then blurts out that he can hear them all and that it's quite a racket, but he seems relatively happy. The director goes over to Sakamoto and says that he's glad that Shen is happy and to please look out for him. Lo says that he's got it. They'll take care of Shen, and Hayazaki says yeah. Sakamoto just smiles, and we return to everyone back in the Sakamoto residence, all eating at the table, telling about their adventures at the museum, though of course to make sure the wife doesn't worry, they just say they had quite the time at the museum. Hana then starts telling Sakamoto about her day at school. Hayazaki's even there, so I'm assuming he's just going to start working for them, or that'll be the running gag, is that he's always around. Shen and Lo start doing their typical back and forth bantering. When Sakamoto starts thinking of murdering the two of them, when Shen blurts out, "Why did you imagine killing us?" He then continues only thinking in his head, telling Shen that they never learn, but then Shen says that only he can hear him and not Lo, and Lo is just very confused. So that was the chapter. It was very cute. It was fun. I enjoyed it a lot. Overall, I'd give that chapter an A, simply because we get to see the villain, X, and the intensity of his reveal. That itself really pushed this chapter high, and it makes me excited to see where it goes. I hope we get some time of just some Sakamoto nonsense, though with how many of these series are dropping like flies, I don't know if that would be a good idea. But who knows? I think it would be great just to go back to a quiet arc of nothing. Maybe some random events happen here and there, blah, as the whole gang gets to continue to bond. Even Hayazaki now, which I think is a really fun addition. So that was all the chapters. No One Piece this week, but overall I think all of the chapters were very good. The battles continuing with new wrinkles in Black Clover and Mashle, Magic, and Muscles. The way that each of their villains took the upper hand, leading to a near death to a potential death for each of their series. The end of one arc and a villain reveal in Sakamoto really topped the week, and just the continued arc of Undead Unluck was fun to see, and the new direction it could potentially be going. But yes, again, I'd like to apologize for not having a video last week. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like, and as always, thank you for watching.